Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about understanding that the more advanced we get as lifters, the more of our training needs to be hypertrophy oriented in order to get stronger. And, when I say that, people don't understand what I mean. All right, when you're a novice lifting heavy with limited volumes, will get size and strength on you very, very, very quickly, right? You can come in and do a 3x5 or a 5x5 program with basic barbell lifts. You can get real strong and you can seem to concurrently maximize hypertrophy. Okay, but a lot of what you're gaining is neural efficiency early on, and that tends to feed into your ability to overload to make gains. As we start to get more and more advanced, here's the problem that we run into. As we get stronger, we can't handle even the same programming. And what I mean is, go take a 5x5 program for squatting, right? You look at it and they might have you doing 5 sets of 5 at 80% of your 1 rep max on a squat 3 days a week. Now, if you only squat 300 pounds as a max, that's not that big of a deal. When you squat 500, when you squat 550, you can forget that. You're not going to be able to recover from that anymore. Not only that, we don't even grow that well off of it anymore. And the point I'm making here is that as we get more advanced, our neural drive is higher and higher and higher. In other words, we get less out of the heavy lifting as far as the neural drive, the neuromuscular efficiency, the skill of lifting heavy, because you've already gotten pretty good at it. Okay, you've developed it over the years. And it beats you up. It beats you up. And here's what you start to get limited by. This is what we know. This is observations of people, and this is what even more and more research shows. Okay? There is a direct correlation between force production and cross-sectional area of a muscle. And I'm not saying individual levers don't matter, individual genetics don't matter, but we're talking about you as a person, because you can't change your genetics. You can't change your levers. Okay? Hypertrophy starts to become the primary mechanism by which we get stronger. So really, how do we get stronger at that point? We either have to get bigger, we have to find a way to improve our technique and levers on a lift, or we have to find a way to get more muscles involved. Well, what does that mean? Adjusting your stance, maybe switching your squat stance to where you get a little more muscle mass involved. Adjusting your bench to where you get a little more muscle involved, right? But at the end of the day, what is that doing? Getting more muscle involvement, in which case the hypertrophy matters even more. You can improve your technique a little bit. Okay, but by and large, getting more muscle involved, whether it's through changing your form to get more muscles into the movement, or hypertrophy, and the combination is really what you want, starts to become the primary mechanism. Okay, not only that, but then all that hypertrophy, when it's done long term, we're not talking about short term changes and glycogen storage and stuff, we're talking real myofibrillar growth. With that, over time, tends to accompany thicker tendons and things, thicker support structures that allow us to lift more weight. Okay, and here's the problem you start running into. When you're relying purely on just neural drive and heavy lifting, you get beat up more, you get hurt more, your tendons hurt more. It starts limiting your ability to lift more without injuries. And when you start focusing more and more on larger segments of your training being hypertrophy oriented, you recover better, you gain more muscle, you're not as beat up. And the more advanced you get, the better you become at recruiting muscle fibers even with lighter weight. Okay, that is an important part of it. That is one reason why you will see, relatively large bodybuilders and even large powerlifters doing rep work with lighter weights and still hypertrophying from it. Now, granted, there's oftentimes supplementation, special supplements involved, and you guys know what those are. I don't mean the over-the-counter stuff. But that isn't the only factor. It is because really advanced lifters with years of training become better at recruiting muscle fibers. That means even when you're working with, 50% of your max, you can sometimes get upper threshold fibers on the first rep. The effective rep theory, which doesn't have much experimental data to support it, none really, starts to fly out the window for people with high amounts of neural drive. In other words, you get more out of the lighter work on a rep per rep basis. And it doesn't beat you up if you're not taking it to failure. Your workloads can go up and up and up. Your work capacity can go up and up and up. People look at my leg development, for example, or my back development. Sometimes they're like, you do a lot of relatively light work. I mean, you do some heavy work. I mean, you guys have seen me squat. The heaviest you've seen me squat on any bar is 605 pounds. Okay. I obviously can move some weight. I mean, you guys have seen me high bar Olympic squat over 500. Not even power squatting. But I do a lot of leg volume. And most of it's not to failure. Okay, it builds my legs up. And it gives me the support structures to squat those heavy weights. But because I am a very advanced lifter who is capable of recruiting large amounts of muscle fibers easily and quickly and efficiently in my, quads and glutes and hamstrings and things, I can get away with lighter weights and do it. Sets not to failure, do more volume, get more stimulus for hypertrophy without burying myself. And that's the take home here, because again, size is forged in the fires of volume, but it's got to be quality volume. But again, if you learn to recruit muscle fibers better because you have a high neural drive, sets don't need to be to failure. They don't need to be heavy to get a hypertrophic response. And then you can do more of them because they're not destroying you. The workload goes up, your conditioning goes up, your work capacity goes up. Okay, and if you can do this, we get bigger. Okay, muscle mass becomes the name of the game. It really does. And this is why I tell guys that if you want to be in a weight class, you need to be the thickest, leanest guy in the weight class if you want to have the potential to be the strongest. Again, barring a few genetic freaks. I mean, you're not going to compete with John Hack. I'm sorry. But those are 1 in a million individuals. For the rest of us, these are the rules that we have to follow. And what I'm suggesting is that the more advanced you get, the lighter you're going to have to train relative to your maxes. You're going to have to use more volume, and you're going to be able to do less heavy lifting in order to maximize your strength development. You're going to have to be hypertrophy focused on building muscles, true muscle fiber, hypertrophy, myofibular growth, tendon growth, things like that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.